Oh, hey there! I've recently scrolled through my YouTube feed and found this.
Today I'm going to show you guys how to shoot a video that looks like this.
Rewind selector. Rewind selector. Rewind selector. Rewind selector. Rewind selector.
Well, those are the kind of videos that just really inspire me to do something. And Austen Paul also seemed like a really nice guy who was able to find very simple solutions for difficult shots. And I was curious to find out more about him since he also seemed to start quietly growing on YouTube. To find out how he does all of this and if you as a filmmaker should start a channel as well, I got in touch with him and we sat down for a Zoom call. And I know it's quite a long conversation, but you might want to stick till the end for the conclusion. Anyway, roll the intro. So, who are you and what are you doing for a living?
Okay, yeah. Well, my name is Austen Paul. I'm a filmmaker. I have been doing filmmaking for 3 years full-time, 2 years making money. And I recently, I guess, started getting into product videos. My whole mentality is always, if you don't have the work to show somebody or want to be hired for that certain type of filmmaking, you have to create it yourself first. And so that was just my whole mentality with it. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna start making product videos because eventually, hopefully somebody will hire me for product videos. And I mean, I have to get good enough at them first because every type of filmmaking is just a completely different ball game that you're playing in a whole different sport.
You're saying that you started this whole thing because you wanted to eventually get clients of it. Did that already work? Did you already get some clients?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's pretty much 90% of my work now is just product videos.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I'm like extremely busy now. I've always had that mindset since I first started, and why I've been able to grow my career so much is that doing things for free leads to paid opportunities. You can't just sit and wait for work.
What is your biggest inspiration and motivation to do those product videos?
I mean, each one is different, really, especially the ones that I did just for fun. It's just something that what really inspires me is like, I'll have kind of a general idea or a weird kind of idea in my head of something. I'm like, I wonder if I can pull that off or make this or do that. And then I start trying to deconstruct that final image and how I would make that happen in camera. So for example, with my burger video, I had a completely different idea of how I was going to do that burger drop, and it wasn't working out on set. And so then it was involving fishing line and using light poles with air pressure to slowly push them down, and then I'd be slowly pulling back, and then it looked like it's slow motion once we removed those wires. But that didn't work out, so we had to kind of rethink it and refigure it out. So we kind of went back to a different idea, different concept that I worked with before, which was with my Pringles video and how I had to stick, and then I glued all the Pringles together. But instead, now we were doing that with the pieces, and we were putting a hole through, and then we're just gonna pull really hard, and then all of those different pieces of the burger would stack together, kind of thing. And so, I mean, everything's always like reworking because nothing ever works out like you hope for or imagine. You know, there's always gonna be something that's not going to work out the way that your mind thinks it's going to, and so then you're going to have to rework around that. So just kind of like a puzzle, trying to fit the pieces together to get to the end point.
I mean, you already talked a little bit about it, but I'd like to know how much planning you do and how much is just experimenting. So what's the ratio of planning versus experimenting?
Okay, well, so I mean, you can ask my girlfriend. I'm not the most organized person, and I already told you that as I was sitting down for this. Probably not a great thing to admit with, you know, doing it for a client when they sent me the product like a month beforehand. But for the astronaut beer one, I had like a loose idea for the longest time, but it was such a loose idea, and it wasn't until the morning that I woke up that I was like, hey, we should go to Home Depot and buy some mirrors. Like I kind of woke up on the idea and see, and it wasn't the plan to make a triangle and have it project and stuff like that. I wanted to grab some mirrors, hang them, and had them like kind of slowly rotating with string. and then like it would reflect different images as I was pushing it with the beers. But obviously it evolved. So that was the morning of, right before the shoot at 5 a.m. that I came up with that idea. I don't really ever do storyboards. I'll do rough shot list and I'll do a mood board. So that like I got a lot of inspiration. I like using Pinterest, and I started taking images of things that like kind of represent the feeling and vibe and some of the angles that I might want. And then I put it into kind of like a slideshow, and then I'll write out a shot list beforehand to make sure that I get everything. With product videos, for just a general product video, you have your core shots that you need to get no matter what. I don't have to plan out a crazy amount for that because I know I'm going to get a master shot eventually. I know I'm going to get details of the bottles. Or whatever the product is, I'm going to get an action of the product doing something, you know. So when you get kind of those three things, like everything else can kind of fill into place, I guess.
Yeah. I think it always is really difficult to portray my thoughts and the process, what's going on in my head, in my YouTube videos. So do you also feel that, or do you think it's easy? How do you go about that?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, I think, like I said, I mean, like things change all the time from what's in your head to the final product. But like I try my best is really just the answer for that. I mean, the process isn't easy. It's taken me a while to get to that point. But like I said, I mean, I have the idea in my head and they never turn out exactly, but like the foundation is there. Some of the hardest things is doubting yourself and thinking, this is gonna be stupid, I shouldn't try this. But if you just listen and trust your instincts and follow through with kind of the idea, I mean, it's going to morph and change, but I think people can create some really cool things, you know?
Yeah, definitely. But I think the point of realization, the point where you realize that you should follow your own style, or I think finding your own style at all, that's like the core part of every filmmaker.
Yeah,
so
I think that's probably one of the most important things, because you're going to be so much more successful if you can develop your own style, you know, that's unique to you. Because if you're just doing what thousands and thousands and thousands of other people are doing, you know, you're just going to be lost in the crowd.
Yeah. So in your YouTube videos, it always looks pretty easy what you're doing. It looks like you've thought out everything. But you're saying that it's a lot of practicing. So how long does it actually take you to make one of those videos?
Oh, I mean, it really depends on the video itself. It seems like it is really easy because you're seeing like a finished product, which is what, 15, 25 seconds. But like, for example, like that pirate video, that took probably nonstop work, over 100 hours. It took me a month to shoot it because I had to keep going back. Things weren't working out. And I mean, I talked about it a little bit in the tutorial about like how exhausting it was and stuff. I mean, but nobody likes to hear somebody complain either in a video. So I kind of try to limit it, but at least explain like how much work goes into it. So that one took easily over 100 hours. Sometimes, you know, with your setups, they can take a very long time. It's not really representative in these tutorials as much, you know, but I try to explain that, like, at least through my words, because I can't really show, you know, that much time passing. Some of them are shorter and simpler than others, like how to shoot a clean product video. That took us just a day. So it really just depends on the product itself. And as like I've done it more and more, like I know what my lighting is going into it most of the time, unless it's gonna be something unique and different. But I mean, it can take I've taken a week to find a song before. Just clicking through things, walking away, not being happy with it. I've edited to entire songs and be like, this sucks, and then changing the song and re-editing the whole video. Don't just shoot something like, oh, well, I guess that's it. You know, if you're not happy with it, fix it.
Yeah, I think the power of changing something you've already like edited. If you edited like a whole video and then in the end you say, well, it could have been better. The power of just going back to the complete beginning and editing the whole video, that's like a skill that's really important, and that I think more people maybe should have.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Trust me.
It is.
And I don't want to do it, and I used to not be like that, but as I've done product videos, I kind of changed into that because there's no excuse really, especially if you're shooting them at home, unless you have a deadline that you have to get with the client and like that's a hard deadline. But otherwise, I mean, especially if you're doing this for fun, like go fix it. I mean, you're only going to get better if you fix your mistakes and you actually recognize those mistakes. I think a dangerous thing is when people put out work and they're like, oh, this is perfect. I'm like, nothing's ever perfect. Like I can point out so many flaws in my videos that like I've tried to fix or like that I notice afterwards and stuff. It just, it's all subjective, but like, I mean, I'm learning all the time.
Definitely. If you could give 3 tips to someone who just wants to start out, what would it be?
Well, one, I'd say just start doing it. Don't have any excuses. I mean, use whatever you have. A lot of people come to me and they're like, well, I don't have the gear that you have, or I only have a cell phone. And I'm like, do you think everybody starts with a bunch of gear? Like I started with nothing when I started, just like everybody else, Imagine when you first started, before you knew anything about filmmaking, if somebody just handed you a bunch of expensive equipment, like all the equipment that you have now, how stressful and how confusing would that be? I probably would have not even got into filmmaking. If somebody just give you a red before you even knew anything about filmmaking instead of your cell phone, right? Like, how to record on your phone, and somebody just handed you a red and be like, here, have it. Like that would be the most complicated thing because there's so many aspects and things you'd have to know about filmmaking to actually operate something like that, right? And you'd probably end up just using your cell phone anyways. So people think like having a bunch of gear is going to solve their problem. Like, no, you got to build your knowledge. You got to build your experience. You got to build your clientele before you want to have them much. 2, trust your gut instinct. Try to listen to your gut. Like if something's telling you, shoot it like this, or I should do it like this, like do that, Don't do what other people are saying. Do what looks good to you. Do what you think is going to work. Do what makes you happy, because that's what develops your own style. And 3, do I have a third piece of advice? Oh yeah, like learn as much as you can. Never think that you know everything. I think even the greatest filmmakers of all time, they admit that they don't know everything. I mean, filmmaking is just an endless base of knowledge and experience, and like nothing is ever right or wrong, right? You just do it because you like it. It's just art. So keep learning from people. Don't ever think you know everything and that your videos are perfect, because if you think that, then you're already losing right there. So I mean, go out, learn from other people, better, worse, doesn't matter. I mean, people will inspire you with different ideas and stuff like that, and you'll learn so much. So shoot, forgot my second tip of advice, and keep learning. So just to reiterate.
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
Cool. Nice. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, man. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
That was an inspiring conversation. My takeaway from this conversation was that YouTube can actually make you a better filmmaker, because first, you watch creators that inspire you to do something, and YouTube can actually be a reason to do so, because then you will get feedback. And YouTube forces you to be unique, because only really then you'll find success. And if you do find success, that can even lead to big client work or collaborations. So if you haven't done it yet, start a channel. Go out there and show your unique style to inspire others. If you do already have a channel, use it. Find out what makes you unique. Anyway, that's it for me. If you're inspired, hit the like button and subscribe for more Monthly Madness. Well, if you did, I'll see you next month.
Rewind selector. Rewind selector. Rewind selector.